Good day, everyone. I'm Engineer Stephen Clemente, Assistant Professor of Civil Engineering Department of FEU Institute of Technology. Together with me is Dr. Andres Winston Oreta, a professor of De La Salle University. I'm here to present my paper entitled Artificial Neural Network Modeling of Self-Compacting Concrete using Matlab. This presentation will discuss the basic concept of neural network, its advantages and disadvantages, neural network modeling using MATLAB, and sample modeling of the behavior of self-compacting concrete. Before we start with the discussion of ANN in MATLAB, let's first define what is neural network and its basic concept. ANN is a type of machine learning that was derived from the concept of how human brain performs or learns. ANN was also an algorithm that mimics the neurons of the brain which send signals through the nodes. Neural network modeling can correlate the relationship between the input, which is the x variable, to the target parameter or output parameter, which is our y variable, through a process called training. To further understand the structure of the neural network, let me discuss first the parts of a neuron together with its function. A neuron accepts input signals via its dendrites, which pass the electrical signal down to the cell body. And then the axon carries the signal out of the synapses, which are connected through the cell's axon to other cells' dendrites. This is the idea of the structure or architecture of the neural network model. Now, going to the parts of a neural network model. These are the parts of a neural network model. The network is divided into three layers, which are the input, the hidden, and the target layer. The input layer, which comprises of the input nodes, is the layer that receives the signal. For example, if we are developing a model that predicts the compressive strength of the concrete based on its composition, which are the cement, sand, water, and gravel, this is the layer that we will use to inject the input parameters. Next is the hidden layer. Hidden layer is comprises of the hidden nodes and biases. This layer connects the input layer and the output layer. The hidden layer or layers performs the transformation of signals from the input layer. The last layer is the output or target layer. It receives the signal from the hidden layer. These three layers were connected or interconnected by the weight, which represents the strength of the signal from each node. The last part is the biases or bias. Bias is a constant that helps the model to have better fit for the data. There are different architecture of a neural network. A simple neural network have three layers, one for input, one for output, and then the last one is the hidden layer. For a complex model like the sample in the picture, we have a complex model like image sensing. A more complex model is needed or needs a multiple hidden layer, or sometimes a neural network model has multiple output nodes. We can also develop neural network models that have more output parameters compared to the input parameters. There are several reasons why we choose ANN or Artificial Neural Network Model over other modeling tools such as a linear regression, multiple linear regression, and many others. First, ANN has superior predicting capability. Second, it is suitable for nonlinear behavior, which is good for modeling a complex relationships. Also, ANN is suitable for large number of data, a large number of inputs and output variables. And lastly, it can detect the interaction between those variables or input parameters. There are also disadvantages of neural network model. So first, it takes long time for processing for a very large network. Example, in data mining, if you have millions of data to process, it will take a long time to train the neural network. Also, sometimes the lack of data will hinder the accuracy of the model. The accuracy of ANN is so dependent with these two criteria, the quality and the quantity of the data. One of the problem in ANN is the black box modeling, wherein we don't know what is happening inside the model. So overfitting is also a main concern for ANN models. Overfitting occurs when the model is overtrained. It fails to generalize the relationship of the input and output parameter, which results in a poor fit to a new set of data. In the field of civil engineering, we have a lot of uh, neural network application, such as modeling of the risk prediction, modeling of material properties, forecasting flood or tide, predicting behavior in the transportation industry, modeling of structural behavior, prediction of earthquake-induced liquefaction, and many others. There are actually a lot of software that can perform neural network modeling, such as the Matlab, Neural Network Designer, NeuroPH, DarkNet, Keras, etc. But in this presentation, I will be discussing the Neural Network Toolbox of the Matlab. In this example, I use feed-forward backpropagation algorithm for my neural network. So the principle of the backpropagation is the signal was sent from the input layers to the hidden layer, and a process called activation is done and send the signal again from the hidden layer up to the output layer. The error is calculated and feed backwards to modify the values of the weights and biases. This is done throughout the training process until getting the optimum values of the weights and biases that yield the best accuracy of the model. The sample paper for this presentation was published in IEEE entitled Feed-Forward Backpropagation Artificial Neural Network Modeling of the Compressive Strength of Self-Compacting Concrete. The authors are myself, Dr. Andres Winston Oreta, Dr. Elmer Dajos, and Engineer Mary Grace Ventanilla. So before going to the ANN modeling, let's discuss first what is a self-compacting concrete. So SCC is a special type of concrete that can consolidate with its own weight without the help of the external compaction. So it is composed of a typical mixture of concrete with added superplasticizer to drastically improve its workability. And sometimes a mineral filler is added to improve its viscosity. Another difference of SEC with normal concrete is its uses smaller aggregate size, which is usually 3/8 of an inch, to achieve a better filling ability. Mineral admixture is also improve the viscosity of the base of the concrete to achieve a less segregation of the coarse particles. So in this paper, the composition of the self-compacting concrete are the superplasticizer or SP, the mineral filler, which is the zeolite mineral, which is also a natural mineral, a cement, the water cement ratio, the amount of sand and gravel in terms of kilograms per cubic meter, and together with the rheological parameters such as the viscosity, which is the result of a T50 test, the flowability of the SEC, which is done through the slump flow test, the passing ability or filling ability of the SEC, which is based on the J-ring test, and last is for the segregation resistance, which is performed using the GTM screen stability test. So all of these are considered as the input parameter for our neural network model. The 28-day compressive strength, as shown in the figure, is actually the target or the output parameter for this model. So the compressive strength ranges from 10.3 megapascal up to 38.5 megapascal based on the cylindrical samples. So also shown in this figure, you can see the different tests being done for this experiment. So this is the workspace and command window of the Matlab. So you can type here the syntax to open the different toolbox in the Matlab. So for example, to open the neural network toolbox, the syntax is NN tool as shown in the figure. The workspace is also the avenue for easier integration of the data, both input, output, and simulation data to the network. So workspace is actually similar to the Excel. So to create a data, first you can use Excel to tabulate all of the input and target data, including the data for simulation. And then you can copy paste your data from your Excel towards the workspace. And then you need to highlight all of your data, then right click, and then you need to transpose it. This is the GUI for the new NN Toolbox for Matlab. So here we can import the data from the workspace, and then we can create our own data by clicking new and then choose data. We can also create the network or the ANN model through this GUI. So the results of from the modeling or simulation can be opened through this interface. So when creating the network or the model, there are several important things to understand. But first, here, we can create the name of the network, followed by the network type. In our case, we choose feed-forward backpropagation. Then, you can select the input and output or the target data on this next to tab. Then followed by the training function, and then in our case we use the train LM, and then the performance indicator, which is the mean square error. Then you can also we can also change the number of hidden layers and also the hidden nodes. And last is the transfer function. So in this case, or in this example, we use tansig as the transfer function. So in Matlab, or in neural network toolbox of Matlab, there are three different activation function or transfer function that you can choose. We have the pure lean, we have the log sig, and we have the tansig. We opted to choose tansig as the activation function because based on the preliminary modeling or from previous studies, we achieve a better accuracy or higher accuracy compared to other activation functions. So these are the training parameters used for the ANN modeling. So the number of cycles or epochs is limited to 1000 only. Infinite for the time parameter is used. The code is INF, and the time parameter is used for models that are expected to have a lengthy training. But in our experience, in this kind of model, we can develop or we can train the network for a few minutes only. And then the goal or the MSE is set to 0. And the maximum number of consecutive failures is set to 6. So it means that when the network validates the training 6 consecutive times, that it yield higher MSE compared to the lowest MSE achieved, the training will be terminated. So most of the time, this is the reason of the termination of the modeling. The weights and biases are the learnable parameters of the neural network. This is modified throughout the process of the network. After modeling or training, we can get the weights and biases from this tab if we are planning to derive the empirical equation or convert this to a computer software. Alternative to deriving the empirical equation or converting to a computer software, we can actually use the simulation tab of the Matlab. So there you can simulate another set of data to calculate the output. In this paper, we have 8 different models, and then these different models have different number of hidden nodes starting from 3 up to 10. So to get the best model, we use the following. The criteria used for choosing the best model, different models were derived with different number of hidden nodes, are the regression value and the mean square error. The scoring was 50% for the value of R and 50% for the mean square error. Model FC8 tansig yields the best regression, which is 0.991, and the lowest mean square error of 3.42. So the validation results, meaning the lowest mean square error, was achieved at epoch 4, and since then until epoch 10, the value of mean square error increases and the modeling was terminated because we set the maximum fail to 6 only. As we can see in the regression results, most of the data fitted within the 45-degree line, which resulted to a very high value for the regression, which is 0.991 for the training, 0.9 for the validation, and 0.98 for the test. We can also see here the architecture of the neural network model. So we have 10 input parameters with 8 hidden nodes, 1 hidden layer, and then 1 output parameter. Now, to validate the claim whether ANN has superior predicting capability compared to linear regression, a linear regression model was derived based on the same data used for the ANN model, and another set of data were simulated and get the regression value for each model. So for ANN, the value of R squared is 0.9675, and for the linear regression, the value was just 0.5652. So a separate simulation was also performed, and take note that these data were not included in the model to further check the accuracy and if there is a overfitting of the model. So the highest error was just 8.81%, and the average error for 6 data were just 2.22%. Now, for the conclusion, the artificial neural network, particularly feed-forward backpropagation, can be applied to solve engineering problems. Matlab can be utilized to perform neural network modeling because of its built-in GUI in its NN Toolbox. Matlab also applies the technique of validation to reduce the chances of overfitting of the derived models. Neural network is one of the best techniques in developing complex models, such as the workability and the compressive strength of the self-compacting concrete. The derived model achieve high accuracy with an R value of 0.9675 in predicting the testing data. These are the references used for this paper. So we would like to give thanks to everyone for listening. Thank you.